Hello everyone, welcome to International Lawyer. I'm Eric Lee, President of the Asian Institute of International Law and Professor of Songwoo University, Seoul, Korea. Today I'm here in Tokyo in order to have an interview with Ambassador Yamada Chusei. He is one of the most highly renowned international lawyers of our time. And he was actually a career diplomat of Japan for more than 40 years. He was serving for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Japanese government, and at the time, during that period, he was the director of International Convention Bureau and the United Nations Bureau, and finally he served as the ambassador of Japan to Egypt and India. I'd like to start my interview with your personal background, because in order to understand someone's president, we have to know about his past first. So, would you briefly introduce your family? What did your parents do, and how do you think your parents' education influenced your character or ambitions?
Well, Professor, it's very kind of you to see me today. Well, I was born in 1931. In what is Kobe now, it's next to Osaka. And well, my grandfather was a merchant in Osaka. He traded rice, and he wanted my father to succeed him. But my father didn't like to be a merchant. Oh. And in those days, the merchant in Osaka had a sort of thinking that higher education is not good for merchant. If you get the higher education, right. you will lose money. So, but my father wanted to get higher education, and he wanted to be to become an engineer. So, so he didn't obey my grandfather, and he had an engineering education, and he first joined the OSK line. It's Osaka Shosen line. It's one of the two big merchant marine company. And he was as an engineer on the ship. He's been traveling around the world. In fact, when I was born, he wasn't in Japan. Oh. He was traveling somewhere near Argentina. And then just before the war broke out, he was recruited by Japan Electric Company. It's now divided, after the war, it's divided into 9 regional electric, like Tokyo Electric Company, Chuba Electric Company, but in those days there was only one. And he was mainly handling the construction of power stations. Especially he was an engineer on boiler. So we moved around Japan. And well, my mother was just a housewife. But she was also very much interested in educating me. And funny thing, when I was just, even before I go to kindergarten, she took me to English lessons. But, but the war broke out, and during those days, I was just a young boy. I didn't know what was going around, but I also wanted to be a scientist. I was very much interested in the scientist. And at the end of the war, I was attending a middle school in Hiroshima. And I think 2 things have changed my life. One is what happened in Hiroshima on August 6th, that is the atomic bomb. And fortunately, I was not in town. We were told to take out the experimental equipment to the countryside. So we were out of Hiroshima. So but I went back there after a week. That was really a shock. And then there were two famous nuclear scientists who came to Hiroshima. One was Professor Nishina, and he was sort of pioneer of nuclear science in Japan, and he was investigating the result of the atomic bomb. The other was still very young Professor Tomonaga, who later got Nobel Prize.
In right, due to
And what Professor Tomonaga told me, I think influenced me a lot. He said that it is not the role of the scientist to get rid of nuclear weapons or to put any limitation on nuclear weapons. It is the politicians and administrators who are responsible for that.
Right.
And so I thought, the scientists couldn't control
Control
things.
the events.
I better become some. But in my family, there was no bureaucrat at all. So I was the first one who became a bureaucrat. And so I gave up the science, and then I entered University of Tokyo and studied law. The reason I joined the foreign services is the influence of my mother. Right after the end of the war, she told me that her dream was to send me to the United States to study. But because of the defeat, because of the economic turmoil, my family cannot afford to send me to study abroad. So I told her, don't worry, I'll go to the United States. And I thought the best, easiest way for me is to join the Japanese.
Right.
And so I joined the foreign service, and the foreign service sent me to the United States for 2 years studying.